When I was a little boy, my grandmother in New Mexico would prepare these almost every day. I am pretty sure a lot of you don't know what this is. It's called a jicama. Here's the word right here, jicama. It's 99 cents a pound, 99 centavos cada libra, 99 cents a pound. Jicama is pretty easy to prepare. All you have to do is peel it and cut it up into pieces to eat. And it's really good. It tastes kind of like a cross between a potato and an apple. And it's usually crunchy. If it's not crunchy when you buy it, you can soak it in water. These grow in the desert, and my grandmother lives in the desert, in the Chihuahuan Desert in New Mexico. And this is one of my favorite childhood memories. Jicama root. Very good. If you want an idea on how to use it at home, you can actually cut it up into pieces and put it in your salads. Alright, let's go back and look at some containers. These are bolsas, bags. Bolsas. Más bolsas, more bags. Bolsas con productos mexicanos. Bags with Mexican products. Latas. Muchas latas. Cans. Many cans. Latas are cans. These are all cans with different kinds of jugos, juices. Lata de jugo, a can of juice. Botellas. Bottles. These are botellas full of refrescos, bottles full of refreshments. And that's what they call sodas or soft drinks in Mexico, refrescos. Lots of them, muchas botellas, lots of bottles, a lot of bottles. Chiles. Mexico is known for its hot food. And if you come into Santa Lucia Market, you will definitely find hot things. In Spanish, the word for hot, the kind of hot that we eat, is called picante. Fire hot is caliente. And you don't want to mix those up. Those are two good words to know. Caliente is fire hot, and picante is pepper hot or chile hot. This store has so many hot things that you will have a good time looking at them. Years ago, I lived right next to the factory that makes buffalo picante sauce. Here's one of my favorites. This is tapatio sauce. It's really good. So if you want to try some hot things, cosas picantes, salsa picante, come to Santa Lucia Market. Or go to another Mexican grocery store and you can find some really hot foods. Comidas picantes. Another very Mexican thing, another very Mexican food is chocolate. In Spanish, chocolate is chocolate. Hundreds of years ago, when the Spaniards arrived in Mexico, they found some very interesting things. The Aztec Indians, or the Nahuatl Indians, were drinking a drink made of a small bean, the cacao bean. And the Spaniards discovered that this tasted very delicious. And they realized they had a new food, and it was chocolate. Chocolate, a very Mexican thing. One of the most Mexican things you can do is drink chocolate. The ancient Mexicans, before Columbus came, the pre-Columbian Mexicans drank chocolate. This is my favorite brand of chocolate from Mexico. It's called Abuelita, which is kind of like saying grandma or even granny. And you break off bits of this hard chocolate and melt it in milk. Get mom and dad to help you and make Mexican chocolate. The instructions are right here on the back of the package. and it's a delicious drink from Mexico. I hope you'll come in and buy some and try it. Earlier I showed you a nopal leaf. It was one of the cactus leaves that I showed you, and I told you that we eat them in Mexico. Here are some botellas, bottles, with nopales. And here it is. There's the cactus pad or paddle before it's cooked. I told you they remind me a lot of green beans or okra, and if you look at the bottle, the botella, I think you will agree with me, they look a lot like green beans or okra. So there you go, from this to this. At the Shield Museum in Gastonia this summer, I went to a pirate exhibition, and they had reproduced foods that the pirates used to use 200 years ago, foods that were stored on ships. And I was amazed to see that they had piloncillos. If you want to see a real piloncillo, you can come here to Santa Lucia Market. This is a box of them. I'm wondering if you can guess what it is. And I'll go ahead and tell you. Piloncillo is a brown sugarcane cone. And I learned this summer at the Shield Museum in Gastonia that they have been making these cones in the Americas to transport sugar for hundreds of years. And it's hard. Let's see if I can show you how hard. Very hard. And you grind the sugar off of it. It's a good way to transport sugar. Supposedly, it would travel across the ocean from the Americas to Europe hundreds of years ago. So there you go. This is really an old food that is still being produced in Mexico. It's called a piloncillo. When I lived in Mexico, I saw people selling these on the sidewalk on blankets. They were not wrapped in plastic. They would be stacked high, and you could just take one, pay for it, and go home with your little cone of sugar. I'm pretty excited to find this in Santa Lucia Market. It's called a molcajete, and it's another ancient culinary device from Mexico and from Middle America. I'm wondering if you can guess what this is used for, and I'll show you. It's a great sound, isn't it? This is a grinding device, and in Mexico we use these all the time. A lot of them are made out of volcanic stone or very hard stones like granite, and we put dried things in here, these dried flowers that we talked about earlier for making Jamaica juice, or perhaps pumpkin seeds, dried chilies, herbs, all sorts of dried things can be ground up in here and then used in our cooking. So this is a grinding device, very ancient, from Mexico. They still make them and sell them. This one's probably been made recently. It's even painted like a little pig, a little cerdo, but we use it to cook with in Mexico, and most households have one. I've been in the jungle and the desert in very humble homes, and on the floor or on a table somewhere in that home, in that hut, you may see a molcajete. In English we call a molcajete a mortar and pestle, and some cooks, probably even in Boone, use a mortar and pestle to grind herbs. Cosas para limpiar, things to clean with. Soap in Spanish is jabón. Jabón. One of my favorite things when I'm in Mexico is to go to the panaderia, the bakery, and I'm really excited to see that Santa Lucia Market has pan. Pan is bread. I'll show you some. This is pan de torta, sandwich bread. Pan is bread. Now, my favorite kind of bread, I guess I'm gonna share or confess that I have a sweet tooth. My favorite kind of bread in Mexico is called pan dulce, sweet bread. It's kind of like our donuts, and you can see different kinds of pan dulce here. This is one of my favorites. It's called a concha mexicana, a Mexican shell, and it's painted sort of like a shell. It's really good. It's kind of sweet, but not too sweet. Sweet in Spanish is dulce. And in just a minute, you're going to find out that dulce means something else.